You are listening to the Becoming the Wealthy You podcast with Jermaine Foley. If you're a woman who makes good money in your career or business, but you're not building wealth like you want to, then you're in the right place. In this podcast, you'll learn how to stop overspending, break free from the cycle of debt, save lots of cash, and become the wealthy woman you were born to be. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Dr. Allison Anderson, and she is a relationship mentor. She's also an anesthesiologist and the founder of a luxury coaching brand for high-achieving women who want love lives as extraordinary as their careers. Dr. Allison Anderson, welcome to the show. I won't be that formal the rest of the show, but had to put it in there.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I have some really great questions for you. I think my audience is going to really enjoy this conversation. And so let's just start with you telling the listeners a little bit about yourself and your background and why you are so passionate about helping women in their relationships.
Yeah, well, I am a cardiothoracic anesthesiologist. And so I have had this, very sort of traditional career, very high achieving, lots of effort to get there. And I have seen through my own life and watching the women around me, just what the effects of having this type of a career can be on your relationships. So I see women, and myself included, who have achieved so much professionally, but they feel like their relationships are just not up to that same level. And I've really identified what are the common threads amongst high achieving women and the struggles that they might have in their relationships. So going along my own life journey, I got into coaching as a client. Of course, I started to learn about life coaching. I hired life coaches, and I started learning a lot of the coaching tools that you and I both use in our practices now. And I just couldn't not share those tools with other women. And so that's why I decided to get certified as a coach. And that's why I now mentor other high achieving women on their relationships. Because once I learned the things that I learned as a client of coaching, plus just seeing how everything had kind of played out in my life and the lives of a lot of women around me, I just knew that there was such an opportunity for us to really get to the place where we feel like we do have it all. We have the career, we have all that, we have finances because we work with you, and we can also have a relationship that feels the way we want it to feel, and we deserve that and we get to have that. We just need to learn the skill set in order to make that happen.
So good. Oh my gosh. So it's interesting that you said, you have everything together, but the relationship isn't there. And sometimes it's money, right? They have everything together, including the relationship, but the money isn't there. So I can totally see the parallels there. So I just want to get into it. So you say a lot of women treat their dating and relationships like they treat their careers. And you said something that was profound. You said, with all the effort, the goals, and the bossiness.
Yes.
And you talked about how that creates the opposite effect of what they really want. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I saw in my own relationships, and then just a lot of the women around me, and of course now I see it with my clients all the time, we are so successful in often very traditional types of careers like medicine. I also work with, high-level CEOs, a few lawyers, just women that have these kind of really traditional careers where they have worked hard to get everything that they've accomplished professionally. They've set their goals. They've not quit until they achieve them. They've had a plan. They've discovered what are the obstacles and let me solve for that. And they've been basically relentless in their pursuit of their professional lives. And they've been rewarded for that, right? Because they have these amazing careers that are so impressive and so successful and so fulfilling. And it's all great because they put their mind to it, they set their goals, and they achieve them. But then when it comes to their relationships, whether they're in a relationship or whether they are dating, they think, okay, in order to solve for the fact that I want to have a great relationship with my partner, or to solve for I want to find my partner via dating, let me apply those work skills that have served me so well. I'm going to set a goal. I'm going to put in the action. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to put in the effort. And that should result in me having the type of relationship that I really want to have. And occasionally that can work. But what I see 9 times out of 10 is that when we apply those work skills that have made us so successful professionally, they really backfire in our love lives because our partners do not want to be bossed around by us. They don't want to be managed. They don't want to be another goal that we have. If we're in a relationship, our partners do not want to feel like we are constantly strategizing and solving and coming up with solutions when it comes to our relationship. And when we're dating, the people that we date also, even if we aren't directly, saying these things to them, they can feel that energy of like, I got a checklist. Like, I'm going to push forward. Let me ask you on the next date. Let me make this happen. I'm driving towards something really specific. I think that vibe comes through when we're dating. And it's often going to be something that repels the people that we are hoping to be in relationship with, because those work skills, they just don't translate into relationship skills in most cases.
Yeah. And this kind of leans into what you call feminine energy. And you talk about how a lot of times successful women, they don't lean into that energy. And that's really what they should be leaning into when it comes to their relationship. So can you give us some ways that we could do that if we're so used to just always being goal driven, in charge, making decisions, making things happen? How can you just kind of like turn that off when it comes to your relationship?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say that if anyone's rolling their eyes right now about feminine energy, I get it, because it is like such a buzzword, such an internet like hot topic, masculine and feminine. But things become hot topics usually because there is something true about them. And the more that I have really started to look at things for myself and my clients and just along the years, it really has become clear to me that this like masculine and feminine energy is a legitimate concept. And it doesn't have to do with gender. It's not like, women are always feminine, men should always be masculine. Every human has a blend of both types of energies. But it's more like how you choose to apply those and in what setting. And so often, like in our careers, we do use a lot of masculine energy. Like that driving forward, that problem solving, that taking charge, that is a masculine energy. And you can be the most feminine woman in the world, like I'm pretty girly on the outside, but I have a strong masculine energy that helps me achieve those things. Those of us who are mothers, mothering is usually thought of as a feminine thing because, mothers are usually women. But the energy of being a mother is actually quite masculine. It's bossy. It's put your shoes on, go clean this up. If you do this, then you can do that. You're in charge. That's what you are as a mother. And that's actually a very masculine energy. And so for those of us with these types of careers or just a lot of, drive professionally, and then if we're mothers too, it's like double the double the trouble sometimes in
Mhm.
terms of our comfort with masculine energy. And like I've said, that just doesn't serve us well in our relationships always. And so this is the very simple but not always easy thing of what to do in order to get more into that feminine energy in your partnership. It's literally to just do less. And all of
Mm.
my ladies are like, let me get out my notepad. What do I do? What's step one? Because we love
Do
to,
less.
have checklist. Tell me step 1, 2, and 3, and then what can I expect from this?
Yeah.
This is what we're gonna do. But the point is, no, do less. So when you want to have a relationship that feels extraordinary, you want to start doing less of the things that you think you need to be doing in order to create that amazing connection with your partner. So do less micromanaging, do less deciding, do less bossing around, do less reminding, do less critiquing of things. And all that energy that you usually spend telling your husband, did you make your doctor appointment? Um, Let me check how you loaded the dishwasher. I know you guys do that, even if you think you don't. So many of you are double checking on his chores or whatever. And you mean well, you mean so well. But all of that energy that you're projecting outwards and using to think about, like, what is my partner doing? Or what are these men that I'm dating up to? Are they going to ask me out? Are they calling me? Who's texting me, etc.? All of that energy, you want to turn it in towards yourself.
Mm.
So you do less. You stop micromanaging everyone, stop, trying to control the outcome of everything as if it is a problem to be solved in your career, and focus that energy back onto you. What do you want to be doing? What's interesting in your life? If you don't have anything interesting to focus on other than your work and if your husband picked up his socks, then you need to find some things that interest you so that you're so busy with yourself that you don't really have the time or even the desire to be worried so much about the little things that your partner is or isn't doing.
Oh my gosh, I can hear the questions rolling around in people's heads right now. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk about the women who are single and
Yeah.
they are looking for a relationship. And a lot of the advice, even some of the dating apps, is about the woman reaching out and, swiping left or whatever. I've never been on a dating app because I've been married for a very long time, but I hear the lingo, right?
Yeah.
So, what if the men are just not coming? What if they're just not coming for you? What do you say to someone like that?
Yeah. So, and that is a common thing, right? It's just so easy to be on these apps and be complacent and just do the most, basic part and then not follow up. I mean, people are on these things and never look at them or really don't put any effort into them sometimes. And so I do hear from a lot of my ladies who are dating how frustrating it is to feel like they're just there, putting their profile out into the void with no response. But what I always say is that, first of all, if you're dating, most likely you're looking for one person. I mean, there are exceptions to that of people who would like to have a different type of a relationship setup, but most people and all of the women that I work with are wanting just find their one partner. So you only need to find one person. You don't need to have a million men interested in you. You're just looking for one. So first of all, like, don't get so caught up in, having this huge quantity of people talking to you. But the other part of that is, I know it can be frustrating and it requires some amount of just patience and like trust in the process and belief in the process. But you, if you try to push forward and pursue and seek out and create all these conversations and initiate things with men on the apps or people that you want to date on the apps, yeah, that might get you into more conversations, but it's probably not going to find you the kind of person that you actually want to be with. If you want someone who will pursue you and who will initiate things with you, even if it seems like it takes a really long time and a lot of empty, dead end conversations or lack of conversations on the apps, if you want somebody who's going to pursue you and step up in those ways, then you have to give them space to do that. So even though it might seem like, nobody's reaching out, nobody's doing this, I should tweak my profile, I should go on a different app, I should message people. Here, let me just start liking everybody just to cast a wide net. You don't need to do that because your person who's going to step forward and the people, it's not just going to be one person initially, probably the people who are going to step forward need to have space to be able to do that. And if you're pursuing them, they cannot pursue you. So again, it's the same thing as if you're in a relationship. Lean back. It doesn't mean make no effort. You got to get on the apps. You got to go out. You got to do things if you want to find your person. But lean back a little bit. Don't be trying to initiate all the conversations. Don't be the one that's always following up. Don't double text people on the apps if you're in a conversation. If he doesn't respond, stop texting him again and again. Okay. It gets a little bit funny because, like, for example, Bumble is one app where it is like female driven. So like in order to start a conversation, the woman actually has to initiate it after you've matched. And that is, a feature that I think a lot of women view as a good thing and something that creates a little bit of a sense of safety because they have to be the one that expresses interest, first. So yeah, on Bumble, you're going to have to initiate conversations. But even after you do that, don't continue to like pursue the conversation if he's not stepping forward. Don't put all your energy on who's texting me and did they respond and how many matches do I have? Put that energy on yourself. Have a set amount of time maybe that you go on the apps each day. do your swiping, make any connections that you make, respond to messages that you've gotten, and then focus back on you and be
Yeah.
patient because he's coming.
I love that so much because it sounds like you just want people to have fun with it, like lighten up a little bit and just see where it goes and stop being so like graspy about it and things like that. And it reminds me of this, like if you are the one that's driving the relationship, pursuing at the beginning, and let's say it does go somewhere, you're going to do that the entire time and you're going to get exhausted from it. Begin the relationship how you want it to be, right? Like Stephen Covey said, begin with the end in mind. Do you want to be the one driving everything and making everything happen? If this does work out, if not, then you might want to take Allison's advice here.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think that because we've succeeded so much professionally and there was some kind of a checklist and then step A leads to step B and et cetera, like we try to do that in our dating lives. And we're like, well, let me get my spreadsheet out of the men and their traits. And I got all these specifications and let me check this one off the list. And we just don't know better. But when we do that, we really often will end up in a partnership that's not actually what we want it to be. And then that's when I see women down the line who are like, why do I have to do everything in the relationship? And it's like, well, number one, you don't actually have to, but you are in that habit because that's how you started and that's how you are. So it's up to you to change that if you want to change it.
Okay, so now let's talk about the women who are in relationships already and they want to continue in that relationship, but they do feel like they're the ones making all the decisions, doing everything, deciding everything. How would you coach them on leaning back some?
Yeah. And so this gets tricky, right? Because if you're in a dynamic with your partner where you really do all the things and you have that sort of almost masculine energy in your relationship, that you're in charge, you're deciding, you're dictating, it's most likely that your partner is very comfortable in the sort of softer role. And, most of the men don't want to hear this, but they might be a lot in their feminine energy. They're the ones leaning back. They're the ones coasting along because you've got it and you do all the things. And so it could be a little bit tricky at the beginning because if you're going to switch things up, your partner might not necessarily think it's a great thing right away. But our partners really want to please us. They really want to make us happy. Our men really have that desire deep inside them that they want to provide for us in whatever way that they can. They want to protect us. They want to do things for us. Even if you're the breadwinner of the house, which I always am, in all of my relationships, our men do want to step up and provide in certain ways. And so when you are in a relationship, if you feel like you have this very kind of dominant energy and you want to stop being the one that's in charge of all the things and you want to be able to relax in your relationship and have someone take care of you because you take care of everyone at work and you take care of the kids and you do all the things. So you'd really love your partnership to feel like someone's taking care of you. Then you don't have to have any conversation with your partner. You want to just start to find the places where you seem to be micromanaging. So if you notice that every time your partner does something, like as far as household chores or whatever, if you find yourself kind of following up to see if he did it, or if you have a critique about how he's done it, I want you to just start noticing if you're doing that. Because noticing is always the first step, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just notice, like, do I kind of follow up to make sure that my husband, made that phone call that we talked about him making? Do I ever say to him, oh, I actually would have cleaned the counters with this product and not that product? Like, do you ever do little tiny things like that? And if so, like, this isn't any shame or blame, but just notice that you do that. And when you catch yourself doing that, just try to catch yourself a little bit earlier each time and stop it before you actually say that thing. If it's a situation where you're always like scheduling everything, you're doing all the things for the family, you do all the things for the kids, and you'd like your partner to step up more, you can make a request. You can say, hey, I would love it if you would do X, Y, and Z, but you don't want to make it feel like it's an obligation or another thing that they have to have on their to-do list that you're forcing them to do. So that's another big aspect of like what I coach women on, because none of this is about being some like passenger in your relationship or like a doormat who doesn't decide anything or has no say. It's not that. But there is something about the way that you communicate with your partner in terms of the things that you would like them to do. You make them as a request, not a requirement, not an obligation. And so when you start doing those two things, noticing if you're micromanaging or commenting or critiquing in any way and trying to just like zip it and don't do that, and learn how to make the requests of things that are actually really important to you in a different way than you're doing now, those will go a really long way in kind of softening your role in the relationship and allowing space for your partner to step in and do the things that he probably really would love to do if he knew that they pleased you. He just doesn't have any drive or desire to do them right now because you either nitpick him or you've got it. And so you just get it done and he doesn't have to do it.
Right. And he may think that you like doing all the things, right? Because you like it a certain way and all that, you know? So that's very good. That's very good. So speaking of being the breadwinner, money and relationships often intersect. They
Yeah.
do all the time. So how can women who are the main earners or who are the breadwinners in their relationships navigate that without creating tension, right? How do you do that? Because I hear it a lot, especially on social media, that a lot of successful women, they feel like men are intimidated by them. They they say they want a woman who's, you know, independent and has money, but then they're intimidated and feel small when they're with her. So how do you balance that?
Yeah. So when it comes to dating, if you are in the dating world and you haven't found your person yet, it's just a really clear thing for you to, first of all, get comfortable with your level of success and be unapologetic about what that is when you're dating. So I see a lot of high achieving women when they're dating, they shrink. I did this myself when I was dating between my two marriages. I didn't write on my dating profiles that I was a doctor. I just put I'm in medicine.
Mm.
Okay. And so everybody would assume I was a nurse, which is great, but I'm a doctor. So what's to be shy about? Why wouldn't I say that? And it was so interesting because I also noticed that the men that I would see on the apps who were physicians, they straight up wrote that. I am a neurosurgeon. I do this. And to be quite honest, those men, the ones that I knew personally who were dating, they got a lot of dates simply by stating that they are a physician.
Oh yeah.
But the women are like, I'm in medicine, myself included. Like, go ahead, think I'm just, something else besides being this high achieving physician that I am. So if you're dating, you want to be unapologetic about who you are, your level of success. Like, you drive a Porsche, baby, drive up in that thing. If the man is intimidated when you're dating, he's not your person.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying be braggy or boastful or any of that, but it's like
Right.
be who you are.
Just be
Do not
yourself.
yeah, don't leave the Chanel bag home because you don't want to make him sad that he might not afford one. No, you show up as who you are authentically. You talk about yourself unapologetically. And the men who are a match to that will, show their interest. They won't be intimidated. They'll be able to handle that. And the ones who aren't will fall away. So that's if you're dating. Um, if you are in a relationship already, and maybe when you got together, you weren't the breadwinner, or maybe you always have been, but it's sort of coming to light that like perhaps your partner doesn't feel fully comfortable with the fact that you earn more money. Um, I think one of the reasons why our partners feel uncomfortable is if we earn all the money, but then we also sort of have the subtle belief that therefore we should dictate how the money is spent.
Hmm.
That's where things get really tricky. So even if you're the breadwinner, and of course, like everybody's financial situation will be different. Like, how do they share expenses? Do they contribute to the family fund? Do they have all the money just be shared? Whatever. I mean, you obviously know a lot more about this than I do, but there can be a lot of different,
Yeah.
sort of situations with how people do their finances. But what I have seen a lot is women who make the money, the higher amount of money in their relationship, they also have this sneaky belief that therefore they should be able to decide how it's spent. And if that's not really your arrangement, and if your arrangement is like, this is our family money, but you kind of are like subtly dictating how it's spent, that's usually one of the bigger problems that our partners will have with our level of success. It's not that they don't like our success, probably. In fact, most of our partners really admire our success. If they're with us, there's a reason. So it's not the success itself that feels intimidating. It's what we sort of make that mean. That like we get to decide what we should spend on. We get to decide, what are we going to invest in? So my advice on that is if you're already in a relationship and you feel like maybe your partner is a bit intimidated or feels a bit less than because you're the one making the money, you want to really make sure that you are making decisions financially as partners and often, and women hate it when I say this, but even defer to him a lot of the time. If you are married to this man and he is a grown up and you've chosen to marry him, you've got to learn to trust him to lead himself and the family in a lot of ways. And so, yes, you make the money, but can you let your partner have at least an equal say in how it's spent? And maybe even more of a say. If it's not something that's like a huge important decision for you, it's like, well, this option or this option could be okay. Let him decide because his level of, feeling less than or intimidation is probably not really related to the dollar figure directly. It's related to the vibe that you have around it. If you feel bossy, if you feel like you're in charge, he's probably responding more to that in a negative way than he is to the actual fact that you make more money.
Yeah. And to me, if that is a conversation or a vibe that's happening, there must be talk about it, right? Otherwise, you just live life. But if there's this conversation about who makes the most money, then there must be some tension there, right? So this is such good advice. And then I would also add too that if you're with someone who you chose to be with someone who makes less than you, and he chose to be with you and you make more, what's the problem? It was a
Right.
mutual decision. And so I think that it's just something to really look at and do some soul searching around. Like, why is this an issue if we both chose each other?
Yeah, that's such a good point. And, I think that, yes, for sure, there are men that might be intimidated in some ways by a woman earning more money, just outright. They might be intimidated, or it could be because along with that, you bring like this bossy, like, I'm going to decide how it's
Mm-hmm.
spent energy, like I was saying. But sometimes I think it's also that we project that. We
Mm-hmm.
feel somehow because we've been culturally conditioned that somehow we've got to marry a rich man or whatever, and it's like we somehow project that like we feel a little bit of shame that we earn more. Or maybe we even feel like slightly, almost embarrassed that our partner doesn't out earn us. And so that's definitely a place to like look at, well, what are your thoughts and like what are the beliefs that you have around this? And do you really want to keep thinking about it in that way? Because I think that we're very conditioned to think that, the men should earn more than us. But when
Mm-hmm.
you're a high achieving woman and you've got that career and you are earning, high six, seven figures, like not a lot of people in general are going to meet you at that level. And that's okay. And you own that. And then I want to say one other thing too about the finances, at least from like a personal standpoint in my marriage, because I am by far the breadwinner. And so we have, a lot of conversations around things and how we want to do the money. And I definitely defer to my husband on a lot of the decisions. If I don't really, it's like I don't really care one way or the other. Both options are good. Let him choose, or at least make, equal decisions. And then there's also the thing too of like, my husband's like, well, I don't necessarily want to spend money on flying first class every time we go somewhere. So, but if you want to, then I'm okay with that, and so, and I'm usually like, well, no, I don't want to sit by myself in first class. If you don't want to sit there, like, I don't want to do that. But he really is like, if you really want that and that's important to you, go for it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to participate, but you go for it. Or, he likes to have certain nice things, but he doesn't care about other, luxury goods that maybe I want to purchase. And so it's very much like on certain things, we just have agreements like, well, he doesn't want to spend money on this, so I make sure I only spend my personal money on certain things. And then things that we agree upon, that are maybe higher price tag or investments or whatever, then it's both of our money. But we kind of have a little bit of a separation of finances too, so that when I want to do something crazy, I do it and it doesn't affect him because he feels like, yeah, it's not our money, it's just your money for that part, and that's great.
Yeah, I love the his, hers, and ours accounting system. That's something that works really, really well for me and my husband, but also a lot of my clients. One of the ladies I'm working with right now, she was like, "Oh my gosh, Jermaine, this is the best thing we've ever done for our marriage, was to give each of us our own money where we're not sharing every dollar." She's like, it's liberating for my husband and for me. So I think it's great because humans, we're meant to be free, right? Free will is something that was given to us by God. And then when you have someone that's, you always got to consult with on every little thing, that can just feel stifling. So I believe in the his, hers, and ours. And since you were a little vulnerable with your relationship, I'll be vulnerable with mine. So years ago, when I was just, really starting to get through in my career, there was an opportunity for me to, go after a promotion or something, maybe a new position. I can't remember exactly what it was. And I had a male colleague and we were partners. So I told him, I was like, well, I want to be careful because I don't want to make more than my husband.
Mm.
And he was like, girl, these are his words. Girl, you better go get that money. And he was like, your husband, from everything I've heard about him, he will be proud of you. He will be supportive of you, and he's going to like having that money. So that came from another man, by the way.
Wow.
And it was life changing for me. And ever since then, I was like, okay, honey, I'm going for this. I'm doing this. And he's totally fine with it. He loves it, actually. And he does his thing too. So I support him. He supports me. So I think there could be some subconscious societal programming, just like you said, that makes us feel uncomfortable. And we could be shrinking and holding ourselves back just because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a good point. Like that this guy made to you, like he's gonna like the money too. It's like
Yes.
our men are not with us because we make that money. But
Hmm.
if we got together with them once we were already on the road to the success we have, they like that we are ambitious. They like that we
Yes.
are high achieving. They're not with us because they want that money just directly, but they appreciate how high achieving we are. I mean, my husband says to me, like, the thing I love most about you is your brain, and he's like so
Hmm.
proud of me that I'm a doctor and do all these things,
Yeah.
in my business. Like he's proud of that. So it's like, let's not shrink ourselves because we are with men who love our ambition. They're going to be proud of us and they're not with us for the money, but they like to have a little extra money in the
Yeah.
family. This is not a bad thing. This is amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to your point, this is something that is, like you said, it's beneficial for everyone. And just give them some credit. I think give them some credit. And if you are dating, keep this in mind. Like you want someone who is going to cheer you on, who's going to like your ambition, who's going to not feel intimidated. So that could be something. I don't know about you, Allison. How do you feel about women having like a checklist of the things they want in a partner? Could we put that on
Yeah,
the list? I
yeah,
mean, that can be on the list,
it
right?
can be on the list. So I don't actually love like a major checklist.
Uh,
I like a small list of
okay.
non-negotiables. And then beyond that, I coach women mostly on like, how do you want to feel around this person? What are the qualities of the partner that you're looking for? So it's not like, well, he's 6'5", looks like this, blah, blah. That would be nice. Those are the nice to haves.
Hmm.
But the non-negotiables and like the essence and the character and those essential parts of the person are what you actually want to be thinking about more when you're dating. And so when it comes to like, is this man going to be supportive of my career and not just intimidated by it? Yeah, that could be like a non-negotiable on the checklist. Like it could be like, he has to have his own career or something. That could be something on a checklist, but it's more like, how do you feel around him and like what is his energy when it comes to you talking about your career? Is he like, wow, that's cool, that's impressive, that's interesting? Or does he kind of brush you off if you talk about your career? Does he jump in and just talk about his career and his accomplishments
Mm,
and you bring yours up? So it's more like, you know, it's a hard thing to put on a checklist. Sometimes we're like, he's got to make six figures. Well, what if he's an entrepreneur? What if he is like the biggest, hustler that's going to build something crazy and he hasn't made six figures yet, but he's got that drive and that ambition? Maybe that's good enough for you.
mhm.
So if you put on a checklist, he makes this much money or he has this type of a career, I see that one a lot because a lot of my clients are doctors. They're like, oh, he has to be a doctor. Does he? Do you
Mm,
really think so? Is that for sure that important to you? Or are you more like the essence of him is somebody that's ambitious and hardworking
yeah.
and, studious or whatever it is? So yeah, it's like I tend to advise a lot of caution with rigid checklists other than a
Hmm.
couple of non-negotiables. And I really focus more on like, what's the vibe? What's their essence? What's the energy? Like, how do you feel around them? Yes, your thoughts determine how you feel, but is it really easy to think amazing thoughts around him or is it not easy? And that tells you a lot of information about your compatibility.
Yes. So I'm curious. So when you coach your clients around the fact that they may want a doctor, right? They're doctors, or maybe they're a lawyer and they want someone in a very similar career. Do they share the reason why they want a doctor? Is it the societal, like I want someone who's on my level?
It's
Yeah.
usually like, kind of cultural conditioning, societal
Hmm.
pressure. Sometimes it's even family pressure,
Yeah.
like, well, you're a doctor, so you should probably marry a doctor.
Hmm.
Um, it can be really confusing, I think, for our families who grew up, our parents and grandparents like grew up in a different generation
Yeah.
than we did. And it's already weird for them, as proud of us as they are. It's already weird for them that we make maybe this high income. And I think that they kind of have this ingrained like worrying sometimes, well, you need a man to be able to also support you and take care of you. And it's like, actually, I don't. Um, but but we get like family pressure, we just get societal pressure of like you need to marry someone that's on your level. Um,
Hmm.
so I think that usually it's that. I mean, in rare circumstances, I think maybe women have like a reason that they actually like for saying, okay, I'm a doctor, I want a doctor. But usually when we dig into it, they aren't really that concerned that they have the same profession or even the exact same level of profession. It's more like they want someone driven. They want
Hmm.
someone ambitious. They want someone that will support their ambitions. They want someone who understands maybe that they have this hectic schedule or, whatever it is. And so all of that can be accomplished whether it's another doctor or not. My husband is an aircraft mechanic. A job I never would have put on my checklist. I didn't even think of that as being a job. Like I do not
My
consider that.
brother-in-law is that. He's actually in the Marines, and
So
that's what
funny.
he does. And he'll be out soon. I think he's gonna, probably go work for an airline afterwards. So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. It's like people have this job. Who knew?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wouldn't have put that on my checklist, right? But I knew that and so I didn't when I was dating, it wasn't like, oh, I need a doctor, I need a lawyer, I need a person of this career. It was more like I want someone who's ambitious, driven, cares about their work, takes pride in what they do.
Mhm.
Yes, makes, an adequate amount of money to live the lifestyle that they have, or that they want. I didn't want someone who had like zero income and was, sleeping on his mom's couch still or something.
Right.
But I just wanted, those traits of like ambition, dedication, pride in their work, supportive of my work. And so I had those things on my list, not he has to be a doctor, lawyer, or a CEO. And lo and behold, I find an aircraft mechanic who's extremely supportive of my career and
Yeah.
also very high level in his career and very dedicated to his career. And so yeah, I make more money, but he's also excellent at what he does. And that ambition is attractive. And so it doesn't
Hmm.
matter what the ambition is for, just that they have it.
Absolutely, because every career track is just going to be different. I mean, you could be very successful, very high level in one career, make this much, and then you can be in another career, not even as high level, but you make even more than the other person. So it's very good, very interesting. Okay, so what else would you say to, let's talk to my single listeners who are doing their thing, right? They're business owners, they have high level careers or successful careers. So my audience will range from nurses, pharmacists, doctors, lawyers, just women who are just doing their thing in business or careers. And they want to be in relationships, but they're feeling stuck. I had one of my clients tell me that the dating pool has pee in it, and so she doesn't want to get in.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to someone like her?
Yeah. So, you know, what we think about dating is what we're going to create.
Yeah.
What we think about anything is what we create. If you put on your glasses that are like the dating sucks glasses, you're going to see all the ways in which dating sucks. You're going to find the evidence for it. Just like anything, whatever we put our minds to, our brains really want to be helpful and find us the evidence to prove whatever we're thinking true. So if you think dating is really hard, it's going to be hard.
Mhm.
You think there's pee in the dating pool,
You're not
you're not
getting
in
in.
there. So the first thing I would say is to just really question, like, why are you having this outlook? And I know that, you're going to tell me, well, I went out with this guy. He was weird. I got ghosted by this guy. All these things happened. I know. But does that really mean that the whole thing is just a lost cause? Absolutely not. And what I really encourage is that people view their dating era as this like beautiful, probably fairly short in the course of their life chapter. So even if you've been dating, or single for like 10 years, if you think of the whole course of your life, this is just a small chapter. You're going to find someone. Maybe you're in your 40s like I am. You could still have 50 years with your person, more than that, 60. I mean, who knows what? Like, you still have a lifetime ahead of you. So even if the dating chapter feels long and arduous and difficult and terrible, it's a short chapter. So why not make it magical and exciting? And the way that I view dating is really as one of the biggest like tools for personal evolution that exists. Because if you really use your dating era as a time to get to know you and to really focus on you and reconnect to you as you're along the process of dating, like the whole time is going to be a period that you look back on with so much nostalgia. Like I feel that way about my dating era because I hadn't dated before I married my first husband. I like married him young and it was like, oh, I met you and here we are. There was no like dating process the same
Mhm.
way. And so when I was between marriages and dating, I had the time of my life because I was connected to me in a way that I had never been before. And I learned so much about me that I wouldn't have necessarily gotten to see if I hadn't gone through that dating process. And so now I look back and yeah, like I'm married to my husband and that's great. And I also see that time in my life as like such a precious period. And it was a big adventure and it was such a developmental like era for me because of just how much I focused on myself and got to know myself. And so if dating feels difficult, like number one, it's a short chapter. Number two, let's make it a freaking fantastic chapter.
Mhm.
And number three, this is the period that's going to really evolve you into like the next most amazing version of yourself if you let it. And it's meant to be fun. Like
Mhm.
this is what I help a lot of women with right off the bat is like when dating just feels like a drag, like let's make it feel delightful. Seriously. Like
Mhm.
when else are you talking to lots of people like this, meeting lots of people? Did the guy get weird? Great. You have a good story to tell your girlfriends.
Yeah.
Um, did the guy ghost you? Good. Goodbye. Like there's more coming. Like it can be this really fun adventure in your life if you let it be.
Absolutely. And so I do have one final question before you tell my listeners how they can stay connected to you. What do you say with the whole who pays first? Or, do you have any, I know you don't give rules to your clients, but do you have any guidelines that you offer for women?
Yeah. So I do very much believe in the traditional thing that the man should pay, at least on the first date. So if you're going on a date, and this is assuming that, yeah, you could pay all day. That's great. But if you're looking for a man who is going to feel like he's your safe place, he's your protector, he's the place where you don't have to be in charge of everything because you do that in all the other areas of your life. If you're looking for that kind of a partnership, even though, yes, it'll be equal in other ways, even though, yes, maybe you'll make more money than he does. But if you want that sense of like that strong masculine man, then you got to be letting him pay on the first date.
Okay.
And yeah. And, this is not, like you said, there's no rules. So it's not a hard and fast thing if he doesn't. But I usually caution, like if he's invited you on a date, which I do suggest that you let him make that move to invite you. You don't need to be like, so I'll meet you at this place at 8 o'clock on Friday, right? Like, no, we're not scheduling all the things. We're not in charge. We're letting him invite us. And when he has invited us, if you then get to the time of the bill and he asks to split it or, hesitates, you just put that in the back of your mind. Doesn't mean that you don't go out with him again, but that's just like something to kind of think about, because I do really think that that old school thing of the man inviting and the man paying is important, at least on the first date. Then as you move through, then you start to share things, then you start to split them. Maybe you offer to pay, on date 3 or, whatever you offer. First date, I really like a man to pay because that just shows a lot about the types of men that we're dating.
What would you say to someone who says, if he doesn't offer, it's a deal breaker?
Yeah. I mean, I believe in some deal breakers. They're for sure like actual deal breakers, like did he drive you drunk or something? Like, okay, deal breaker. But, you know, something like that, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a deal breaker, but I would say to just, keep it in the back of your mind. We always want to give the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's also in his head of like, oh, strong women, they like to pay for things, whatever. Like, who knows what? It doesn't mean eliminate him. But I do think it says a lot. I think that men want to please us. Men want to impress us. Men will get a car wash and a haircut, and they will come to the date looking their best, just like we want to look our best. And part of them trying to impress us, no matter how much money they make, is like scraping together that cash to pay for that date, whatever it takes. They want to do it. And so a man who isn't interested in that, or, I mean, I've heard like horror stories of like men being like, oh, don't order that. That's too expensive. Or, like weird things like that. It just says a lot. It just says a lot. And it's up to you to consider, like, is this really the type of person that I want to be with? Or would I love a man who steps up and makes that effort for me right off the bat? And I mean, I want a man that makes that effort for me right off the bat. And so do my clients. So do I. We all do, right? We want to be taken care of in some way, even though we can perfectly take care of ourselves. There's something nice about that being provided for in certain ways. So
yes,
not 100%. A deal breaker, but something to note.
I think it'll be a deal breaker for me, but that's just me.
Yeah, and it might be, right? And that's totally good. But
yeah, and it depends on, of course, I've been married 20 some years, so I do remember back to our first date, he did pay. But yeah, it just seems like the first date, maybe afterwards we could start splitting things, but I don't know. I'm just a little old school, I guess.
I am too in that way. I am too. And I think it's important because, again, the way that you start your relationship is the kind of relationship you're going to have. So if you want to always be his mommy that's paying, gets out her purse, that's the kind of relationship you're going to have. But if you want a man who makes the effort and steps up and, shows his interest by treating you to the date that he's invited you on, then you want to make sure that you're, paying attention to that on the first date.
That's the perfect place to end. Allison, can you please share how my listeners can stay connected with you if they are interested in learning more from you or even hiring you as their coach?
Yes. So the best place to stay connected is on Instagram. I'm at Allison Anderson Coaching. And then I do have a free masterclass that's so in alignment with everything we've talked about. It's called Sexy Best Friend, because that is how I want to feel about my partner, that he is my sexy best friend, and I want him to feel that way about me too. And this class is mostly geared towards women who are in relationships, but it's all about leaning back and how to do less and how to get out of that managing, mothering energy that you might naturally have, that masculine vibe, and get more into the feminine. So that masterclass is free. I'll give you the link so you can put it in the show notes. And then I do have, other masterclasses. I have one called Dating Without Drama that's available for purchase, which is a pretty comprehensive program for my ladies who are dating. Just Instagram is where all the things are usually happening.
Awesome. And so I'll definitely have all of those links in the show notes, and I can't wait for them to dive in.
Yes.
All right, Allison, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, if money is the one area of life you just can't seem to figure out, even though you make good money, you're not alone. That's why you're invited to book a complimentary one-to-one money consultation with me so that we can figure out how to solve your biggest money challenges. To sign up, simply go to jermainefoley.com/consult or check out the show notes. Hope to meet you soon.